Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have a natural authority, even when they speak very little? Meanwhile, there are those who talk non-stop and yet no one really pays attention. The difference isn't in the quantity of words, but in the power of silence that these people have mastered. We live in an era where explaining every detail of life has become the norm, from what we eat for breakfast to the reason for every decision we make. And you know what happens? The more we explain, the less seriously people take us, and even worse, the more insecure we become. The uncomfortable truth is that this compulsive need to justify everything doesn't stem from a desire to be understood, but from a deep fear of being judged. It's as if silence were a threat, a void that urgently needs to be filled with words, any words, before someone draws the wrong conclusions about you. But here's the paradox. The more you talk, the more fragile you seem. Each extra explanation is like adding another step on a ladder that only distances you from the confidence you seek to gain. What the ancient Stoics already knew, and what modern psychology confirms, is that silence is not the absence of communication, but its most eloquent form. When you learn to be silent at the right time, something magical happens. You regain your personal power. People start listening to you more attentively, your words gain weight, and that insecurity that made you talk too much begins to dissolve. In this guide, you will discover not only why you talk so much, but how to transform silence into your greatest tool for self-control, inner peace, and genuine influence. 1. Listen carefully. How many times have you found yourself just waiting for your turn to speak, while the other person is still in the middle of a sentence? It's as if your brain goes into automatic preparation mode, mentally rehearsing the perfect response while the other person's words become just distant noise. This is the trap most people fall into, confusing hearing with listening. Hearing is passive, mechanical, like leaving the TV on while doing something else. Listening, on the other hand, requires total presence, that genuine attention that makes the person feel they really matter. Active listening is a skill that few master precisely because it requires something rare these days, the patience to remain silent. It's not just about shutting up, but also about silencing that inner voice that's already formulating arguments, counter-arguments, and parallel stories. When you truly listen, something interesting happens. You start asking questions that really matter, open-ended questions that invite the person to delve deeper, not questions that already carry your disguised opinion. It is in this space that conversations cease to be duels of monologues and transform into genuine exchanges. In this context, silence becomes more eloquent than any elaborate speech. It communicates respect, demonstrating that you value what the other person has to say more than the sound of your own voice. Try this. In your next important conversation, challenge yourself to speak only after the other person has completely finished their thought, and even then, count to 3 seconds before responding. You will notice that your responses become more thoughtful, more precise, and above all, more impactful. The calmness you transmit by truly listening is the first sign of someone who has self-control, and that, my friend, is already halfway to earning the respect you seek. 2. Silence your ego. Your ego is that annoying character that constantly whispers in your ear that you always need to have the last word, as if every conversation were a secret competition where losing means disappearing into irrelevance. It convinces you that staying silent is synonymous with weakness, that if you don't rebut every comment or correct every little mistake others make, your intelligence will be questioned. But the brutal truth is that this character is lying to you. The only thing you lose by feeding this cycle is your own peace of mind, while gaining the reputation of being the kind of person no one can have a calm conversation with. The real challenge isn't winning imaginary debates, but learning to curb that automatic urge to talk incessantly. Think about how many times you've said something just to avoid being quiet, even knowing it added nothing to the conversation, sometimes even making the situation worse. The ego hates emptiness, so it fills every silence with unsolicited opinions, unnecessary corrections, and stories no one asked to hear. It's as if it's terrified that you'll be forgotten if you're not constantly reminding others of your existence. When you finally silence that mechanism, something liberating happens. You gain mental clarity, space to process your own emotions and thoughts without the pressure of having to externalize them immediately. You free yourself from that exhausting burden of constantly needing to demonstrate something, to prove your worth every 5 minutes of social interaction. The wisdom lies in recognizing that your presence already communicates much more than your desperate words seeking validation. And here is the hidden power. When you stop competing, people naturally begin to see you as someone confident, centered, someone who doesn't need to shout to be noticed. 3. Silence makes you powerful. Have you ever noticed how the person who speaks little in a meeting ends up being the one who receives the most attention when they finally open their mouth? It's not a coincidence, it's strategy, conscious or not. Silence has something almost magical that transforms you into a walking enigma, into someone who clearly knows how to distinguish between what deserves to be said and what can be kept to yourself. While others are wasting words on trivialities, you are observing, processing, choosing the right moment for your intervention to be worth its weight in gold. This economy of words doesn't make you less participatory, it makes you memorable. In practice, learning to be silent means understanding that your words have weight, and weight is only maintained when used sparingly. If you comment on everything, your opinions become background noise, that sound that's always there but nobody really pays attention to. Now imagine the opposite. You spend an entire meeting just observing, asking 1 or 2 pointed questions, and then make a single comment that completely changes the direction of the conversation. People tend to listen more to those who wisely keep silent, transforming them into points of reference rather than mere superficial participants in the conversation. This power doesn't come from arrogance or superiority, but from genuine self-control. It's knowing that you don't need to fill every void with your voice to prove you're present, to demonstrate intelligence, or to ensure you're not forgotten. The fascinating paradox is that the less you speak, the more people want to hear you. It's like that friend who only recommends a movie when it's truly worthwhile. When they finally recommend something, you watch it without a second thought. Your words become rare currency, and everyone knows that rare currency has high value. For the power of silence. We live in a world that never stops talking, where social media forces us to have an opinion on absolutely everything, from international crises to the color of a dress in a viral photo. This compulsive need to constantly take a stand has turned silence into a forgotten luxury, almost a social heresy. If you don't speak up, accusations immediately arise. Your silence is complicity? Silence implies consent. As if not expressing an opinion on every subject in real time were a crime. But the ancient Stoics, those philosophers who faced wars, plagues, and mad emperors, firmly believed in one thing: self-control, including and especially control over our words. The truth is that not everything needs to be explained, commented on, or dissected publicly. Sometimes words are simply superfluous, and worse, they get in the way. Practicing silence is not omission or cowardice. It's a conscious liberation that gives you back the mental space to think clearly, observe patterns that compulsive talkers never notice, and above all, learn. While everyone else is shouting their opinions, you are picking up on nuances, understanding hidden motivations, and perceiving what really matters beneath all that unnecessary noise. Silence gives you a strategic advantage that few understand. It allows you to respond instead of reacting. Reaction is automatic, instinctive, and usually stupid. Response is measured, intentional, and effective. When you don't feel obligated to comment on every single thing that crosses your field of vision, you conserve your mental energy for what truly deserves your attention. It's like having an invisible superpower in a world of people exhausted by battles they themselves created. The peace that comes from this conscious choice not to participate in every circus is priceless, and ironically, makes you far more interesting than anyone desperately trying to be heard. 5. Close your mouth in time. Recognizing the exact moment when you should stop talking is an art as refined as it is rare these days. Your mouth is like a faucet that hasn't been maintained for years. Every time you open it without thinking about the consequences, words overflow uncontrollably, and the disaster is already done before you even realize it. Have you ever said something that, 2 seconds later, you desperately wished you could swallow back? That feeling of, why the hell did I say that, is the price of not having developed that internal break that separates wise people from regretful chatterboxes. The most foolproof technique is simple, but requires practice. Imagine the consequences of your words before releasing them into the world. It's like those 5-second countdowns before posting something controversial on social media, except here you do it mentally in real time during conversations. Ask yourself, does this really need to be said now? Will this improve or worsen the situation? Am I speaking to contribute or just to alleviate my own anxiety? If the answer to any of these questions makes you hesitate, then probably the best course of action is to keep your mouth shut. But let's say that, after this quick analysis, you really feel the need to express yourself. Then do so in a measured, surgical way without unnecessary detours. Strategic silence, the kind that is consciously chosen and not imposed by shyness or fear, is the most eloquent and wise expression of all thoughts. It demonstrates that you have control over your impulses, that you are not a slave to the need to be heard at any cost. And there's more. The people around you begin to realize that when you speak, it's worth stopping everything to listen, because you don't waste words on nonsense. 6. Be patient so you don't explode. When everything seems to conspire against you, the traffic is impossible, your boss unfairly reprimanded you, someone cut you off in the supermarket line, the urge to scream, explode, unleash all that pent-up venom is almost irresistible. Your whole body craves that momentary relief of verbalizing all the frustration, as if letting it all out were the only possible solution. But here's the inconvenient reality. It's not always necessary, nor intelligent, to give an immediate response. In fact, the best responses rarely come from the heat of the moment, but rather from that strategic pause you take when you feel your blood boiling. Taking a conscious pause, counting to 10 mentally, or simply taking a few deep breaths might sound like cheap self-help book advice, but it works because it creates a tiny space between the stimulus and your reaction. In that microscopic space lies the difference between someone controlled by circumstances and someone who maintains control over their own responses. Patience isn't a magical quality that some lucky people are born with. It's a skill that develops with conscious practice, like strengthening a muscle that has atrophied from disuse. Being patient doesn't mean being weak, passive, or anyone's doormat. It's exactly the opposite. It's having enough inner strength not to be destabilized by every setback, every provocation, every situation that escapes your control. It's like having an invisible superpower that allows you to observe the chaos around you while remaining firm as a rock in the middle of the storm. When you master this patience, when you manage to stay calm while others are losing their minds, you not only avoid saying things you'll regret later, you also become the person others seek out in times of crisis, because they know you won't panic at the first sign of turbulence. 7. Silence is for the wise. In the digital age, where literally everyone seems to have something urgent to say about any topic that comes up, silence has become an art as rare as it is valuable. The constant noise of social media is like a runaway train without brakes. Everyone is shouting at the same time, competing for attention, spewing opinions like machine gun bullets, and in the end, nobody really heard anything important. It's a fascinating paradox. The more information available, the less wisdom circulating. And where is wisdom? It lies precisely in that silence that everyone avoids as if it were contagious. Silence gifts you with something precious that constant noise steals. Mental space to truly think, to observe patterns that go unnoticed by professional chatterboxes, to genuinely listen to what other people are communicating beyond words. While impulsive people are reacting to every stimulus like dogs chasing cars, you are processing, connecting the dots, developing a deeper understanding of the situation. And when you finally decide to open your mouth, you do so with crystal clarity, with surgical precision, with the absolute certainty that your words carry weight and meaning. The difference between wisdom and knowledge lies precisely there. Knowledge is accumulating information, wisdom is knowing what to do with it, and, above all, knowing when to do nothing. Your words are worth infinitely more than 1,000 empty shouts when they come from a place of reflection, when they are carefully chosen instead of impulsively vomited out. Wise people of all ages have always known this. Talking is easy, any idiot can do it. The difficult thing, what truly separates ordinary people from extraordinary people, is mastering the sublime art of being silent at the right time and speaking only when it is truly worthwhile. 8. Master the awkward silence. That silence that falls in the middle of a conversation and makes everyone squirm uncomfortably in their seats isn't the apocalypse your anxious mind has painted. Most people panic in those moments, feeling a desperate urge to fill the void with anything, usually nonsense that only makes everything more awkward. But learning to be quiet in those moments is understanding something liberating. Control over what we say, and especially over what we don't say, is the master key to our mental peace. The discomfort isn't in the silence itself, but in your interpretation of it as something that needs to be corrected immediately. The Stoics had a completely different view of these moments. They saw silence as a precious opportunity, not as a problem to be solved with desperate words. Imagine that each silence is a blank space on a canvas. You can pollute it with nervous scribbles, or you can appreciate the beauty of simplicity. There is absolutely no need to fill every second with verbal noise. The world won't end, people won't judge you as incompetent, and that conversation won't die just because there was a 3-second pause. Relax, and instead of talking just to break the silence, use that time to truly listen and process what's happening. Awkward silence often reveals far more about a group's dynamics than hours of superficial conversation. When you master the skill of remaining comfortable in silence, you automatically stand out as someone with inner security, because only insecure people need to fill every void with their voice. And there's an interesting bonus. The more comfortable you become with silence, the more at ease other people feel sharing truly important things, because they realize you won't interrupt or hastily judge. 9. Silence against drama. Not everything you hear deserves the energy of an opinion, and that's a truth that can save you countless unnecessary headaches. Sometimes, responding to a provocation, getting into a pointless argument, or giving your perspective on a particular drama is just throwing gasoline on a fire that shouldn't even exist on your radar. The best, smartest, most strategic thing you can do is simply let it pass by, without getting involved in what doesn't directly affect you or contribute anything to your life. When it comes to gossip, office intrigues, or those explosive social media dramas where everyone is called upon to choose a side, silence is literally your best friend and greatest shield. You know that feeling of relief when you wake up the next day and realize you avoided a huge mess simply because you kept your mouth shut? That's exactly it. Wisdom lies in recognizing that not everything deserves a response, that not every provocation needs a counterattack, that not every drama of others needs your participation as an extra. True strength lies in knowing that the best comment is often the one you never make. While others are wasting emotional energy, burning bridges, and creating enemies over issues that will be forgotten in a week, you are preserving your peace, your reputation, and your sanity. The power of silence against drama is not passivity. It's pure strategy. It's choosing your battles intelligently, understanding that not every invitation to chaos deserves an RSVP, and above all, having enough self-control not to bite every bait thrown your way. 10. Don't answer everything. Not every battle that comes your way is yours to fight, and this distinction is crucial for maintaining your mental and emotional energy intact. Many of these provocations, malicious comments, or tense situations don't even deserve a second of your attention, much less an elaborate response. There are specific occasions when silence becomes your best weapon, that response that says it all without uttering a single word. It's as if you're above the chaos, observing from a high place where small provocations simply don't reach you. Choose wisely the discussions that are truly worth your time and energy, those that will help you grow as a person, that defend non-negotiable values, or that will genuinely have a significant impact on your life or the lives of people you love. Everything else? Let it pass like water running down a duck's back. It's not about being cowardly or passive. It's about being strategic and aware that your time and peace of mind are limited resources that shouldn't be wasted on insignificant battles that only drain your energy. True wisdom is revealed in the ability to discern when silence is more powerful than response. There's a phrase attributed to Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, that perfectly summarizes it. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When someone provokes you expecting an explosive reaction and you simply move on as if nothing happened, you not only maintain your power, you also completely frustrate that person's intention. Your calculated silence becomes a declaration that you are on another level, playing a different game, where impulsive reactions are not part of the strategy. 11. Don't over-explain. Explaining every detail of your decisions, justifying your choices exhaustively, detailing the reasoning behind each action. All of this is much more a reflection of deep insecurity than of clear communication. When we feel that almost compulsive need to constantly justify our actions, we are sending a subliminal message to the world. I don't trust that my decision stands on its own, so I need to convince you and myself that I made the right choice. Wise people understood long ago that words have real weight, and that a brief and clear message generates infinitely more impact than a lengthy speech full of unnecessary justifications. Inner confidence is demonstrated precisely by that quiet firmness of someone who doesn't feel the desperate need to explain every detail, every nuance, every micro-decision they made during the day. When you make a decision and simply communicate it without an attached TED Talk, you're saying, "I thought about it, this is my choice, and I'm comfortable with it." Period. No beating around the bush. No begging for validation disguised as, "I'm just explaining." Compare that to the person who spends 15 minutes explaining why they chose a particular restaurant for lunch. Which one conveys more confidence? The cruel paradox is that the more you explain, the less people believe you. It's as if each extra justification is another layer of varnish on a lie, even when you're telling the absolute truth. Try this. The next time someone questions your decision, answer objectively in 1 or 2 sentences at most, and then simply stop talking. You'll feel that internal itch to keep explaining, to add context, to justify. Resist it. Observe how your confident silence communicates far more authority than any elaborate speech ever could. The calmness of someone who doesn't need to explain themselves is magnetic and, ironically, makes people respect you much more. 12. The advantage of being unpredictable. Speaking without pause might seem like total sincerity, that refreshing transparency everyone values. But in reality, there's a fine line between being authentic and exposing every thought without any filter. Revealing absolutely everything that crosses your mind is essentially like playing poker by showing your cards ahead of time. You lose all strategic advantage and become completely predictable. Silence, when used intelligently, transforms into its own language, a sophisticated declaration that what is most important, most valuable, lies precisely in what you choose not to say. The ability to not be completely predictable becomes an impressive natural barrier against manipulation and psychological games. When people can't easily read you, when they don't know exactly how you'll react to a given situation, they automatically treat you with more respect and caution. It's like having an invisible shield. You're not being fake or manipulative, you're just keeping some cards up your sleeve, preserving that element of mystery that makes you be taken more seriously. Predictable people are easily manipulated because their emotional buttons are all mapped out and exposed. This doesn't mean becoming an irritating enigma or playing unnecessary psychological games with everyone around you. It simply means understanding that you don't need to verbalize every emotion the instant it arises, that not every reaction needs to be external and visible, that there is real power in processing internally before externalizing. The respect you gain from the complexity that defines you doesn't come from being deliberately complicated, but from having enough depth for people to perceive that there's much more happening beneath the surface. This healthy unpredictability keeps you interesting, respected, and, most importantly, in control of your own narratives. 13. Calm down before speaking. Remaining silent for a few seconds before responding is absolutely no sign of mental weakness or slow thinking. It's quite the opposite. It's a pure demonstration of inner strength and conscious control. In those brief seconds of apparent inaction, your mind finds the precious space needed to process information properly, to separate what really matters from superfluous noise, to discover the true intention behind the words that have just been spoken. While impulsive people are blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, you are calibrating your response for maximum effectiveness. That strategic pause, that intentional silence of a few seconds, marks the stark difference between someone who lets themselves be carried away by the moment like a leaf in the wind and someone who consciously chooses each of their words with a clear purpose. Think of it this way. Every unfiltered word that comes out of your mouth is an arrow fired that you can never retrieve, and some of those arrows may hit targets you never imagined you were aiming at. Calmness before speaking is like having a safety system that checks if that arrow should really be fired at that moment, in that direction, with that force. Mastering this conscious patience transforms you into the kind of person others naturally respect in important conversations. When a heated conflict arises and everyone is yelling at each other, you're the one who takes a deep breath, waits for the dust to settle a bit, and then speaks with that calm authority that makes everyone stop and listen. It's not about being slow or hesitant. It's about having enough confidence not to need to fill every millisecond of silence with anxious words. This cultivated calm is the unmistakable mark of someone who has true self-control, who isn't a slave to their impulses, and above all, who knows that real power lies not only in what is said, but fundamentally in when and how one chooses to say it. So, after everything we've discussed here, an honest question needs to be asked. How many times have you regretted staying silent when you should have spoken, compared to how many times have you regretted speaking when you should have remained quiet? The answer probably leans much more towards the latter, doesn't it? And this disproportion reveals something fundamental about the transformative power of silence. It rarely puts you in situations where you need to apologize afterward, unlike impulsive words that seem to have a life of their own as soon as they leave your mouth. The real question now isn't whether you've understood the importance of silence, but rather what you'll do with that knowledge going forward. Will you continue to be the person who over-explains, who fills every void with anxious words, who reacts to every provocation as if your life depended on it? Or will you consciously begin to practice this ancient art of being silent at the right time, of truly listening, of letting your words carry real weight because you don't waste them on trivialities? The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with a simple decision. In the next important conversation, count to 3 before responding. That's all. 3 seconds that can completely change the quality of your interactions. Think about it. What would your life be like if you completely mastered the control over your words and your silence? What would your relationships be like if people saw you as that calm reference point amidst the chaos? As someone whose opinion truly matters because you don't hand out opinions like flyers on the street corner. What kind of respect would you earn if you demonstrated, through consistent actions, that you have enough inner security not to need to constantly explain yourself or react to every provocation? The path is laid out, the principles have been presented, and now the ball is literally in your court. If this content resonated with you, if these reflections touched on something real in your life, then don't let that energy dissipate into oblivion. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of personal development and self-knowledge, because what we share here is just the tip of the iceberg of a much greater transformation available to those who truly want to evolve. Turn on notifications so you don't miss future content, and above all, start practicing even just one of these techniques today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Silence is waiting to give you back the power you've been giving away for free every time you talk too much. It's time to reclaim that power.